So today we're going to talk about what it takes to become EPA certified, compliant, or approved, whatever you want to call it. Those are all different levels of things that you may want to advertise for your company. So stay tuned. I'm going to talk in depth about this and share what I can in my knowledge to help you use the right terminology when you're out there promoting your company. Hey, I'm Mike Hinderliter, the Dean of Powerwash at Powerwash.com and Powerwash Academy. And today I want to talk more in depth about what you can do to get certified, maybe certified, approved, or compliant with EPA standards and regulations when it comes to power washing. So first off, I just kind of want to show you around my property here, what we do here at our facility where we have truck washing that comes on site. And in general terms, when you are washing in the power washing industry, a basic rule of thumb, this doesn't apply in all situations, but a majority of the time it does, is you don't want to let your wash water leave the property you're on. So if you're on an acre lot, don't let it leave the acre lot. If you're on 500 acres, don't let it leave the 500 acre lot, right? So that's just a good rule of thumb. And to be a little more specific, so if you're washing really regular on a facility, on a job site, and it has the collection or the water just sits there, will it over time create a contamination issue, which would create a problem for the property owner later when they go to sell it? So just keep that in mind. Those are just some caveats to go along with don't let the water leave the property, because once it leaves the property, it enters the waters of the state, and that's when regulation begins, pretty much. But that can change. I'm just saying in general terms, probably 80% of the time. So real quick, I'm going to show you what's going on my property here. So right here, we got in this big pad. This is all a concrete pad right here in front of our building. And we do washes out. We do, like you've got a tractor being washed over there right now. And then here at the bottom of this pad, it slopes down toward, you can see the water coming and it stops. And then you go across here, and there is a drain that collects the water, and it flows down to a collection point there with a pump. It pumps it up, and then it goes back up toward the building into the wash bay, into that wash bay, and into the sanitary sewer where it gets treated by the publicly owned treatment works, or more commonly known as a POTW. And then over here, we have a washout pit where the trucks back up into it. We blow out the stuff in the back of the truck, and then it's curbed on 3 sides where we collect the water and pump it into that 500-gallon tank, which is sitting over there right now because it's being drained. But it normally would be sitting over here, and we would use one of the super sucker or sud sucker, something like that. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's just a little device that you hook on the end of the pressure washer one to collect it and pump it into that tank. And by the way, as just a quick point of reference, that is the trailer I started with back in the early 80s or mid 80s for my power washing business. I worked off of that trailer right there. It doesn't look anything like it did back then. It's pretty beat up. It never leaves the yard. It stays there. It's not even tagged to be out on the road. We don't use it to go to any customers at all. Let's talk about, can you get EPA certified, compliant, approved? Okay, first thing I'm going to say is the answer in general terms is no, you can't. Just forget it. They're not going to give you anything like that. And here's the reason why. This is a big reason why. This is a big reason why when I see companies promote or push that out there that they are, I have a very hard time believing it. And I would love to see that documentation that says they're certified, or that they're approved, or that they're compliance is a different terminology altogether. You can say it. So there's problems with that too. Here's the reason why. It's because the EPA, the state, city, or county all together, they won't do this because it exposes them to liability. They can't certify that you go out and do it right all the time. But what I tell you can do And I have done this, and I've got letters back from in 1995, and I'll show a couple here. You can take a look at it, stop it, pause it, look, see what it says. But for the most part, what I was able to get them to do was to give me a letter that basically said, the wording could be different because I haven't read it in a long time, but it basically said, on this date, at this location, using this process, and as we witnessed it, you wash in a manner that we approve or find acceptable. General terms like that. So this doesn't expose them to a lot of liability, because if for some reason later on you've done something wrong and the customer that you do it for comes back and says, well, you said this, this, and that, where's the documentation on what happened on those dates? Or do they have it, and did you follow it? That's just a whole area, and they just don't want to do it. They don't. There's so much litigation that goes around that. But what you can go ahead and say is that we are EPA compliant. That's still kind of a scary thing too, because the laws are always changing. And could there be, when you say EPA, how many regulations are out there that involve EPA compliance? Or how many nuances are there from area to area? And, or if you say environmental, or use the term environmental, how many nuances are around environmental? And what's the interpretation of the inspector? What's the letter of the law say in that area? And what's enforcement like during that time? There's just a lot that goes around it. So this is my professional recommendation. And that is, say that you can promote, we do wash water recovery, we contain and dispose of it properly. That gets specific now, because you're talking about wash water recovery. You're not talking about a vast array of EPA laws and regulations and anything that goes around it. You're not exposing yourself to all that. Because if you say EPA, the EPA has a ton of things that I can guarantee you nobody listening to this knows enough about to cover all the aspects of it, not even me. And because now you're not just talking about wash water, you're talking about what may be protecting the owls in northern Idaho or whatever that is. You know, does that make sense? What may be happening out with the dolphins in the Gulf of Mexico? Just crazy stuff like that may be out there, maybe on the books, because what'd you do? You said EPA. You expose yourself to the whole thing because you use bad terminology. Use proper terminology. We do wash water recovery, we do it in a compliant fashion, and we dispose of it properly. Be specific narrow it down. Don't expose yourself to so much liability. So that would be something that I would do. And here's the second thing that I would point out to you. If you're in the space of the power washing industry and you're running around and saying that you're EPA certified or EPA approved, people like me and customers out there that you may be trying to get that know the EPA don't do that, it makes you look bad. Not only that does it make you look bad, it makes the rest of us look unprofessional too. So you may not like me saying that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Now I could be wrong. Is there an EPA certification out there that I'm not aware of? Comment below, let me know. I'll do another video on it in the future and I'll bring it to everyone's attention. I'd love to share it. But to my knowledge, that has never been the case, and it's because of liability, and that'll never change. So that being said, this is a word to the wise and those who want to be professional and to do things the right way. Limit your exposure, wash water recovery in the proper manner, dispose of it properly. I'm Mike Hinderliter, Dean of Powerwash, powerwash.com and Powerwash Academy. Take care. I'll see you next week, and stay safe.